Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring our top left-hand side, Anytime, our blue Zerg, and in the bottom right we've got legit Cursive, our red Terran. Both players are in Diamond. We are on Star Station, which is one of the new Heart of the Swarm maps. It takes me forever to learn any of the names, and I would not have known this if I hadn't looked it up before I started casting. It's a huge map. It's absolutely enormous. Really long rush distance between the two of them. Two Xel'Naga watchtowers, north and south. Natural's pretty easy to take and hold because the choke is directly next to the ramp. Third and fourth are very exposed. You got three different pathways into the third, and then the fourth doesn't even pretend to have a wall off. You just have a gap that you can't walk on. This is the important piece. Whatever. So basically, it favors two base play. If you can get a third base up, that's awesome. Good for you. But it's difficult. Sometimes I see the Terran mech have a siege tank line that stretches all the way from the natural to the third. Protoss, you basically have your death ball huddled right here the entire time. And then Zerg, if you lose map control, expect to lose two expansions. That's basically how this matchup decides to go the majority of the time. Barracks and supply depot not being positioned by the wall off, no gas being tapped from Cursive tells me that this is going to be a macro build. He's probably not going to be grabbing gas or doing any sort of tech timing. Is probably just thinking about taking an expansion very, very soon. Speaking of expansion, Anytime's moving off with 250 in the bank, so he's going to be throwing on a hatchery himself at the 15 supply time. Probably going to be followed by a 15 pool, but you never know. I mean, it is a big map, and we don't see any signs of aggression coming out from Cursive, but that has not been scouted yet. There's been no drone scout from Anytime that's arrived back at home. Unfortunately, went to the bottom left rather than the bottom right, so he's not going to know that there's no aggression, so he's probably going to be playing it safe and throwing down a spawning pool. Awesome. And the first Marine on the production tab, that's kind of weird. The SCV getting kind of glitched. They're unable to go over and build one of the supply depots. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the supply depot is one of the new ones. It's got that little antenna on the side. I love those new skins. They're really, really neat. The Ultralisk one looks sick. And the Overlord one looks kind of weird, but whatever. Oh no, the drone does not die from the Marine, getting off more than a few pot shots, but it makes it makes away with just 13, maybe 12 health. No big deal, no big loss. In fact, Cursive just is happy to have the scout gone so he could throw down the command center on the low ground. I apologize, by the way, for my voice and my lack of coherentness because I am sick. I am very under the weather and it hurts. And so yeah, it's not going to be the most imaginative or excitable cast ever, but I want to do this. I want to do this because I'm going up to PAX East and I'm not going to be able to do anything computer related for the next 4 days. Besides, PAX East, there's lots of computer stuff there. That's going to be fun. And you know what else is going to be fun? Defending expansions. You got the bunker on the low ground, really aggressively positioned from Cursive. He's not going to have a problem protecting himself from a Zergling run-by at the ramp, as well as protecting himself from a Zergling run-by down to the natural. Sometimes you worry about stalkers kind of blinking across that chasm, or just Zerglings running around the box side. Sometimes people position their bunker over here, and that really opens up an avenue for destruction down here in the natural. Still no gas being tapped for Cursive. He's got two barracks on the way, and those barracks are actually a pretty cool thought. Barracks don't require minerals to produce, they don't require gas just to produce Marines. However, if you only have one barracks, you really need a reactor in order to keep pace with the production. You can see that there's 3 Marines on the production tab right here. If you had a reactor, that would be significantly smaller. You really want those Marines to be produced as soon as you get the minerals for it. So you produce 2 more barracks, 3 total, so you can mass produce the Marines rather than having to blow some gas on a reactor to make it so you can keep pace with your economy. It's a great play. It doesn't signify overt aggression. What would signify overt aggression is a very early tech lab under the gas, so you can start working on the upgrades. 2 refineries, those are going to get saturated. Once that gas starts to flow in, we'll see those upgrades. We'll see that add-on being thrown onto those barracks, and we're going to see stim and combat shield coming out, but that's 2 or 3 minutes down the line. Right now, Cursive is more interested in getting his bunker saturated as well as a pseudo wall off back at home. Looks like a supply depot is going up, probably going to be followed by another one. This is weird. It's difficult to make this work without throwing down a large structure here. Usually I put my factory right here, but yeah, the supply depot works fine too, but unfortunately that leaves gaps, and either you have to push the supply depots forward or backwards, and that kind of opens up the surface area for the banelings. And did I mention that there was a baneling nest on the field right now? Yeah, so we've got banelings that are probably going to be morphed Back at home, Anytime has elected not to go for a third base, and I apologize for neglecting Anytime in favor of those 3 barracks. I really think that that's just kind of neat. So no third base for Zerg, so he needs to do something economically speaking. He's neck and neck harvester count, which means he's behind on the mineral income. Here comes the Baneling bust. It looks like 8 Banelings pushing into immediately destroying this entire wall off, but that leaves only Marines to deal with only Zerglings, and that definitely favors Cursive. He's have no problem at all pushing back this. 0 damage was done to the economy. Yeah, Anytime took down quite a lot of structures, but ultimately he was a wash. I mean, he didn't lose nearly as many resources as Anytime did. And so, yeah, I think Cursive's going to be feeling absolutely fantastic. He repelled that initial Baneling bust. He knows that in order to make that work, Zerg would have had to have sacrificed drones, and that's exactly what he did. He's definitely behind in that regard. 34 over 30. Embarrassing for the Zerg. Anytime, however, is doing the proper thing, taking an expansion behind this aggression, and he's going to be doubling up on that drone count. And, you know, it's Zerg. They can afford to throw an entire larva inject cycle into drones, and all of a sudden he's up by 20. Yeah, that's something that Zerg can do. They can just rebound from that aggression. 6 more Banelings now on the field. That's not going to be enough to take care of this wall off. However, once again, he can do quite a lot of damage. But I really don't see why he's continuing with this aggression. I don't think Anytime does either. He's going to be pulling back. Not worrying too much about the fact that, you know, Terran is contained. He's on 2 bases right now, and there's not a lot that Cursive can do to punish the hubris of Anytime, because he's going to be taken out. He's going to be taking a third, and that only thing I can say about Anytime is you really got to work on your creep spread, man. That can really keep your bases alive, and if you stay on top of that creep spread, especially if you get it out to the third, it is a lifesaver, absolute lifesaver. And the lives you're going to be saving are drones. 41 over 36 for the drone count. Glial reconstitution on the field. I don't see a single worker being constructed in the production tab, just a bunch of roaches. What is Anytime thinking? He's not going to be able to knock down that front door. He's either thinking of a drop play or a Nidus network. Awesome. Oh, great. He's already got the Overlord positioned off into the left side. This is the classic positioning for that Nidus War, make it so it's very difficult to wall off. The CC just a little bit too low in order to scout the Nidus network positioning. Once Glial reconstitution, probably not even going to wait for Glial reconstitution. He's just probably going to push in there. And remember, there's a lot of Banelings back at home. I would not be surprised to see those Banelings make a beeline for the mineral field. Starport is up, factory finishing up with that reactor. So drops are going to be on the field in short order, and I think that's what Cursive's going to have to do in order to push this back in. There goes the Nidus network. This is going to be awesome. So Anytime has already loaded this up completely with roaches, Banelings, plenty of Zerglings with speed already, and this is going to hurt. This is going to really hurt because Cursive's entire army's back at home. Stim is on the production tab, as is +1, but we don't have combat shields being researched just yet, and the Zerglings start to just stream right on in. Oh man, it is going to be targeting down the command center first and foremost, which is weird because you really want to start doing damage to the economy, but here comes the Banelings. That's what's going to be doing damage to the economy, and just let the good times roll. 8 workers killed already. The Marines having a field day with the roaches, but the roaches are being very cost effective against them because they don't have the combat shields up. 8 more roaches on the production tab, but it looks like this aggression is going to get cleaned up. How many workers killed? 13? 13 is definitely respectable. In fact, you've got more than a handful of Zerglings still going to town on the infrastructure back at home. Cursive, not to be rebuffed, is starting to take out his third, lifting off that CC and bringing it over to the third. Another SCV goes down, bringing the total to 15 before it finally gets cut down. Stim has finished, as has the +1. Combat shield has not been started, which is definitely a big deal, but he's a little bit behind on the gas income. He's saturated all 4 of his geysers, so I don't know why. What is he blowing all that gas on? Oh, medevacs, and that's a great idea. You really need that medevac count up. Personally, I favor the combat shield before I start dealing with the medevacs, but I usually get my combat shield first if I'm doing this defensive Terran build. Regardless, saturation at the third is looking pretty good. 53 over 48 harvesters. That number had faltered a little bit due to the constant aggression from Anytime, but I think Anytime has identified that he's not going to be able to do too much until Cursive decides to lift off and actually get out into the middle of the field. He's got map control, and oh, look at this. Cursive is actually going to oblige anytime by pushing off. And again, combat shield's not done. He's going to be missing that 10 life like no one else's business. As soon as he sees these banelings, centrifugal hook's going to be finishing in a very short amount of time. There goes the stem back at home, sees the Nidus network, and as well as half of the army coming out from anytime. Spire on the production tab, and that's going to be great. However, I think Anytime already has the unit composition necessary to deal with this push from Cursive. The Marines, nice split there. However, it's not going to do too much because there's no combat shield, and those banelings are just waiting for them to step on the creep. Finally, the creep spread is beginning for Anytime, and the baneling hits. Oh my goodness, every single one of those Marines just go down in a blaze of green glue, and it looks like all the Zerglings are going to be chasing down the Marauder as quickly as you possibly can. Nothing really to do to take down the Medivacs, which is unfortunate. I wonder how they took damage. Probably the Queen. Was there only one? Oh, there's two. Working on that creep spread back at home, and that's a very important thing. You keep your Medivacs alive. It's pretty easy to re-macro as far as Marines are concerned. However, it's very difficult to re-macro when you only have one starport. Siege Tank on the low ground is going to be rebuffing Anytime. However, it's surprising that Anytime doesn't poke over and just check out the third. He saw that command center being constructed. He saw that he didn't take it out, and that's definitely something he wants to take care of because a 3-base Terran versus 3-base Zerg really favors the Terran. 61 harvesters over 53. Nice gas income. Good, it's a small amount of gas bank. And did I see any Mutalisks on the field? No. Spire's done. Where are the Mutalisks? I wonder. Infestor Pit also coming out. I wonder what that's going to be for. There's 5 Mutalisks. That's pretty good. That's very good, actually, especially because there's no static defenses here. The scan was already blown on the natural, which did not expose the Spire in the main, I'm assuming. No. Where's that Spire? Over at the third. Over at the third, and with the Infestor Pit. Nice. Very cool. Fourth being taken in the top right-hand corner, and another CC being thrown down for Cursive. So what could Cursive do? He's favoring this slow push, again without combat shields, but this time with +2/+1 upgrades. I don't agree with this at all. I mean, he had this nice bio build, and he's trying to do the slugfest where you just go and trade armies against Zerg, and Zerg's up 2 bases. What you need to do is use the mobility of your force, and this is, yeah, you're being abused by Zerg, and Zerg has this nice baneling hits on these very weak Marines, and all of a sudden everything dies, and it's because you're allowing him to dictate the pace of the fight. You're basically opening yourself to some fantastic baneling hits because you're not using the mobility of the Medivacs. Medivacs have that afterburner boost strictly because they wanted the Medivacs to be used for drop play. You've got to use it. You've got to use it. You've got to do more drops, and you've really just got to punish Terran for having so many different bases and bundling up like that. Oh, Zerg. You got to punish Zerg for having so many different bases. Looks like Anytime's being just a little bit too aggressive with his roaches and his Mutalisks. Mutalisks are taking significant damage from the Marines, and now that the siege tank production has reached a crescendo, I don't think there's anything left to do for Anytime. He's going to have to pull back, content with the 31 workers killed. Very significant damage being done to the economy. I mean, look at the saturation back at home. Only mules at the third, and that CC has stopped being constructed because the SCV did indeed go down. These guys are probably going to become banelings in a very short amount of time, but the economy for the infrastructure for Cursive is actually really, really strong. I mean, look at all those Marines being produced from those barracks. It would be far more impressive if they had all the upgrades, but speaking of upgrades, I mean, they actually are pretty upgraded. 2-1 with STEM. Combat shields, I hate to keep harping on it, but they're super important. Regardless, the medevac count has definitely faltered. He lost probably 4 in that fight with these Mutalisks, and it just shows you how resilient those Mutalisks are now that they have the regeneration. Still no missile turrets back to protect the third. The Mutalisks are going to be going to town on that saturation. Here comes the reaction from Cursive, not unsieging his siege tank, which was a great decision because I think that's what Anytime wanted, was to make it so that the siege tank line was gone so he could push in with the banelings, but there's not much of a line. It's just one solitary military siege tank. There goes the missile turret being constructed back at the main, and the Mutalisks, one of which falls, is really just proceeding to do quite a lot of damage. 43 workers killed. Man, what harassment. Oh no, the Mutalisks turn to engage the Marines, and all of them get just melted away. But what is this? The counter-aggression down at the third. Anytime succeeding in taking down the orbital, and it looks like this one's going to be burning down. How long can Anytime keep this aggression at the third to succeed in taking down that orbital command? Here comes Cursive repositioning his army. He's got the siege tanks on the left side. Where's the siege? Where's the siege? There's no siege. Oh, but Anytime's only engaging with half of his force at a time. The Baneling hits are pretty impressive, but overall the force of Cursive's just barely enough to take that third. It looks like that orbital command's going to be safe, throwing down in a mule just to start mining in that area. Top right hand side, another hatchery being taken. Anytime is up to 5 bases with a 67 harvester count. So much money. All he's got to do is deal with this force coming out from Cursive, this doom push, 109 over 100. No SCVs thrown into the mix, because I really feel like the amount of damage that Anytime has done to Cursive is enough to warrant an all-in. All the drones being transitioned over to the right side. Looks like he's leaving this third completely unsaturated, which was ultimately a great decision. Unfortunately for him, due to the aggressive positioning of both of these rather important structures, the infestor pit is going to go down. That's okay. Anytime hasn't been using infestors anyway, and all he really wanted to do was get it so he could get Hive Tech up, which he has up, and he's got 6 Ultralisks on the production tab. His upgrades are actually looking pretty good too. +1, +2 on the way. Oh no, Cursive, realizing that the top right hand side is a pretty good place for him to look, is going to be taking out this expansion also. Will he have the presence of mind to check up on the high ground to take down that hatchery? Only time will tell. This is absolutely devastating for Anytime. Where is his army? Oh my goodness. No, he's just being too passive. He's not pushing in. He was hoping and praying that Cursive wasn't going to have the map awareness to look in the top right hand side. Instead, Cursive has basically 3 bases totally for free. All he had to do was kill 2 queens to take out all 3 of those expansions. It's just devastating. Look at that new skin on the Ultralisks. So sick. Oh, they're so great. Yeah, but no, Cursive is going to be feeling absolutely fantastic. The economy for Zerg is absolutely in shambles. Here comes all those Baneling hits. These Ultralisks are probably going to clean this up completely. However, no, pulling back. I wonder why. I have absolutely no idea why. All the Mutalisks are gone. The siege tanks, the Ultralisks were right on top of the siege tanks. They were going to clean this completely up. He doesn't have enough money to build a new hatchery, so he's going to have to be doing a little bit of long-distance mining until he gets up a new one, until he gets enough. I think his natural is still mining. These Ultralisks are going to be trundling down to the bottom left-hand side instead of actually engaging Cursive's base. I think Anytime is just panicking right now because his whole economy is just shot. These Ultralisks are going to have to be doing some fantastic... What, he's just running by these siege tanks? What is he doing? I have absolutely no idea what Anytime is doing. He probably just a misclick. Just had him on move command, and unfortunately he lost at least half of his... half of the hit points of those Ultralisks due to the siege tanks, just because he was running right by him. Man, poor Anytime. He had this game in the bag. He was doing absolutely fantastic damage. I mean, look at the workers killed tab. 63 over 33. So much damage, and very good aggressive posturing. He did some nice Baneling busts of the wall, did a nice Nidus network, good damage to the infrastructure, and then transitioned smoothly, very smoothly, which is a difficult transition into the Mutalisks, and used them successfully. Combat shield now on the production tab at the 25-minute mark. Well, great. That's good. Cursive, you have a huge wasted potential in the form of these Marines and these medevacs. You've got to start using them. Whenever you start feeling cramped like this, where you have to throw up a wall off this sturdy in order to protect your natural, you get up that first medevac. Don't even worry about the reactor. It's not necessary. If you just want that first medevac and send it off to somewhere and start doing drops, just throw them down, take out a single drone, and retreat. And what that's going to do is buy you so much breathing room. Anytime, you saw how he reacted to that aggression. Once you took out a single base, he just totally panicked, and he held back his entire force, allowing Cursive just to take out both of the all 3 of the expansions. And that's just because Anytime was used to having map control, and having it taken away from you is terrifying. It's so scary. And it's something that Terran does so very well because it's inherent to their composition. I mean, Marines and Medevac, that is a perfect composition for drops. And it does so much damage, and it really doesn't require too much micro, because you just send the Medevac somewhere to hold, and then once you have time, you move it in, do the drop, check back in 3 seconds to see if there were banelings burrowed underneath, and if they're not, then just retreat, because you've done enough damage and you've made it so that Anytime had to react to that, and that ultimately cost him more APM than it cost you. Yeah, it was a great game. I really feel like Anytime panicked at the end there and kind of let the game trundle out of control, but Cursive definitely keeping a cool head, not having to worry too much about the aggression from Anytime, handling all that, mitigating it. It was good. It was very good. I apologize once again for the voice. If you guys are at PAX East, I'll be there. Regardless, I will see you guys later. Oh, if you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary.